Welcome to the another edition of Digital Dialogues by Maritime Gateway. Today we have a guest with us, Mr. Abhishek Chaudhary, who is the Vice President of Corporate Affairs in NICDC, which is National Industrial Corridor Development Corporation. He is a fellow member of Institute of Company Secretaries and gold medalist in law. He has over 20 years of experience with over 12 years in the present job. He has contributed in developing Prime Minister Gati Shakti National Master Plan for providing multimodal connectivity to economic zones and has also played a significant role in bringing technology-based disruption through a digital platform, Unified Logistics Interface Platform, ULIP, that was launched by Honorable Prime Minister Shri Narendra Modi ji recently on 17th September 2022. He is responsible for converting the DMIC into National Industrial Corridor from 1 corridor to 11 corridors now, from 7 cities to 32 cities, from 6 states to 18 states now, and he is taking the National Industrial Corridor program to the national level. He has a wide experience in the field of strategic planning and management, secretarial and legal matters, project financing, public-private partnership projects, corporate governance, and exposure of dealing with various government departments and organizations. He has also been nominated as director on behalf of Government of India in various project SPVs. Welcome to the show, Mr. Abhishek Chaudhary. It's a pleasure to have you once again on this show.
Thank you, Raviji. Thank you so much.
Let me begin with the buzzword, the hot topic that is actually took the nation with a lot of excitement and a lot of aspiration. A lot of debate is going on, the national logistics policy, as I mentioned, which was released by the Honorable Prime Minister recently. So can you give me actually what made you thought of this process for the policy to bring out this policy, and what was the need felt for bringing out this policy?
See, as we all are aware, that logistics these days is playing a very major role as far as the competitiveness of any country is to be decided. And every single sector of the economy, whether it is manufacturing or whether it is service sector, everything is directly or indirectly dependent upon the logistics and the logistics service provider. And out of the commodities which are getting produced or which we all consume, logistics play a major share in the transportation of those goods and services. So it's not an exercise which has come up in a hurry, but this is a very well thought of exercise. And as you all are aware, that this policy was being discussed with relevant stakeholders from quite some time. And after extensive discussions at various levels and consulting different stakeholders into the logistic value chain, and also incorporating the suggestions of associations and actual users who are involved with this sector, this policy has been formulated with an ultimate objective of bringing in more efficiencies, bringing in more transparency, reducing the overall logistic cost, and as well as to increase the global competitiveness of India as a whole.
Can you give me an idea on what kind of benefits that it will bring to the service providers and as well as for the exporters and importers?
Sure. Majorly, these are the 4 action points and action agendas which has been incorporated as part of the policy. One is Unified Logistics Interface Platform, which NICDC was given the responsibility of development, under which we have already integrated 30 different systems of 7 ministries covering over 1,600 fields by way of developing 100 APIs. And this is a single window platform whereby all different systems, whether you talk about Vahan and Sati system of MORTH, FASTEC system of NPCI, or you talk about IceGate system of custom, voice of railways, terminal operating systems of Ministry Ports and Shipping, 3 different systems under Ministry of Civil Aviation for the purpose of air cargo, importer exporter code, eKYC of DigiLocker, all these systems have been integrated in one platform, one single platform. So what it will bring in, it will bring in the complete transparency and the digitization into the logistic trade. As we all are aware that the logistics sector is predominantly governed by the unorganized sector. It's basically an unorganized sector, and more than 75-80% of the people who are directly or indirectly connected with the sector are in the unorganized market. So it's very important that for a particular user, you should have enough number of information with regard to the functioning, with regard to the service quality, with regard to the usability. And on the basis of all these things, you should be in a position to take an informed decision. So to my mind, ULIP will bring in efficiencies, it will bring in more visibility, it will bring in more transparency, and will help the user for taking an informed decision. In addition to the ULIP, which is basically for the purpose of bringing the digitization to the overall piece, I think the three major initiatives which is part of the policy is e-logs. E-logs is basically for the purpose of raising any kind of a complaint within the logistic trade, and anybody can log in that complaint, and that complaint will be marked to the respective person, whomsoever is responsible for addressing it. For the purpose of monitoring the infrastructure projects in government, we already have a project monitoring group which monitors the performance of different infrastructure projects and coordinates with different line ministries for resolving and ironing out all the pending issues. Similarly, in the logistic trade, a system has for the first time been introduced whereby different problems can be logged in and different problems can be tracked for an early resolution. Thirdly, the capacity building, because logistic as a sector is growing at a very, very rapid pace in the country. So both skilled as well as unskilled labor will be required in future. We will require a lot of people who understand technology. We require people who can understand how the goods can be moved from one place to another in a seamless manner. So there is a huge emphasis for providing training specifically into this sector, so that these people can directly be absorbed either by the ports or by the terminals or by the freight forwarders or custom clearing agents, etc., etc. And the fourth piece is basically about the standardization. That is standardization of the warehousing, the standardization of the physical assets, because till today there were no specific norms for the purpose of standardization. So that is the fourth pillar on which the national logistic policy is based.
Formulating policy is a major task. Having achieved that, then implementation is something which is more challenging. As per the plan, if in the true sense, if it is being implemented, what would we see in the immediate future, maybe in the first couple of years? What is the visible change that can happen?
See, what you said is absolutely correct. And Honorable Prime Minister, during his address, during the launch of the policy, has also mentioned that it's basically policy is an overlying statement or overguiding document, but the performance is what is important. Then only we will be able to achieve the results. So equally important is the actual delivery and the implementation of various things which has been included as part of the policy. I can give you an example. Before the launch of the Unified Logistics Interface Platform, ULIP, we have already tested over 2 crore transactions by way of opening up these APIs to the private sector, so that we should be sure whether there is an acceptability of the trade, acceptability of the market of such an aggregating platform. And we have already executed close to 10 non-disclosure agreements, and these 10 companies are in one way or the other using these ULIP APIs. We are at a very advanced stage of discussion on another 10-12 companies which will be signing non-disclosure agreements with us and will start using the ULIP API soon. After the launch, there is a huge traction, and I'm sure that rather than putting up the implementation targets in years, we will have to define those targets in terms of months and in terms of quarters at the max. And before the end of the current fiscal year, I'm sure that maximum number of the people will start using it.
Okay. As you just mentioned about the ULIP out of the 4 pillars, this is more interesting a pillar that I would like to touch upon more and see. we are a country, land of diversity, and to the last count, we have about 13, 14 different verticals under logistics or a maritime segment operating. Each has its own system, its own platforms. Some of them are on digital. Some are still in the process of establishing a digital presence. When you come to the states also, some states have active logistics policy. Some policies are only on the paper. So in this kind of environment, this unified logistics interface platform is no doubt brings a transformational change. But what are the challenges? How do you make all these stakeholders adapt to that? And as you already mentioned that you already have some feedback, you have done some say pre-launch exercise. So can you give me more insights into that?
What you said is absolutely correct. I completely agree with it. See, any system which a government develops, we cannot assume or presume that it will be accepted by the market. The success of a system, the success of any policy for that matter, depends upon whether the stakeholders who are actually getting impacted because of this, both in the positive as well as in the negative sense, actually start using that system. And they are the one who should find value in your proposition. So ultimately, the success of ULIP will definitely depend upon whether the different sectors of the players who are in different hierarchies of the logistic value chain should start using it. But as you rightly mentioned, being an unorganized sector with some digital systems and some operating on a manual system, it will take time. It is going to be a dynamic platform which will keep on upgrading itself over a period of time. But it was very much important to create the base layer. So at present, we have created the base layer by way of integrating so many systems, adding new systems. For example, after integrating the major systems, we start digging up as part of this participative government agencies to be linked and integrated with the ULIP system. So when you start doing deeper, you understand that as part of the participating government agencies, I think out of the 14 systems, only 2 systems are digitized. So my first emphasis will be that the systems which are digitized should get integrated first, and the systems which are not digitized, we should start talking to them, and we should start requesting them that you should also convert your system into a digital system so that the integration is processed. See, eventually every system over a period of time has to become digital. It is the need of the hour, and we can't ignore it. Even though after maybe 2 years or 3 years down the line, we will meet again, we can definitely say that out of the whole universe, maybe 4% or 5% system will still remain physical, but it will not very much, because we will be able to cover 90-95% of the trade.
Now let us move on to the another key area, data. Now, Honorable Prime Minister mentioned there are about 1,500 data layers that will be layered in this platform. Now, data is a big challenge as far as maritime sector or the logistics sector is concerned. One, data integrity, standardization. Then the third most important factor is not sharing the data. So, how does this so much of data can be brought onto the platform, and how humongous volumes of data will be handled? So can you give me an insight into that?
I just wanted to clarify the speech of the Honorable Prime Minister, where he mentioned about the 1,500 data layers. That was with regard to PM Gati Shakti. That is not with regard to ULIP. But yes, ULIP itself will be handling a lot of data, and the enormous data which is available presently in different systems of the government and different systems of various line ministries. And because of this issue, what we have done is we are not storing the data of any system. We are not taking the dump data and storing it in our servers. This whole system works on a request response based mechanism. So if you are the user, you are using the ULIP platform, then you must be inquiring maybe say about 20 vehicles or about 20 drivers credential verification, or maybe tracking 20 cargo journeys relating to you. So only these 20 data will be requested by you, and the ULIP system will be requesting it to the different systems of the line ministry, and only that request response based data and the data which was processed through the ULIP system will start getting stored onto the platform for the purpose of doing analytics at a later date. So we have developed an in-house system whereby this data will be stored. The entire system has been developed on the node guidelines of Ministry of Electronics and IT, just to ensure the safety, security, and privacy of the data. In addition to this, any information which is classified as personal identified information, which is called PII, that is not going to be shared, and that is going to be masked whenever it gets reflected. And we have carried out independent safety audits of the system as a whole, so that there is no unauthorized leakage of the data. There is a standard operating procedure whereby the request, whenever it comes, it gets filtered through different channels, and through that channels only the information which is supposed to be given is only shared. It's not, because we also understand the data secrecy related issues, the data credibility related issues. So all that has been taken care of while developing the system.
You have started this logistics data bank to track the container movement. In fact, I should compliment you. I'm a big fan of that, because earlier we had no clue about these containers turnaround time, and then month on month we have transparency across all the terminals and container freight stations. So wonderful initiative. Now I am told that LDB is moving on to 2.0. So what are the new features? How it is different from the previous version?
Thank you so much. And let me share one important announcement with you that last month in July 2022, we have already achieved the tracking of more than 50 million containers in a short span of 6 years. We started our services in July 2016. And within 6 years, we were able to achieve this target with the support of all the stakeholders. And in LDB 2.0, because now our systems are integrated with different systems of different ministries, the kind of analysis and the kind of end-to-end visibility we can provide will be humongous. And let me tell you certain major change points. In LDB 1.0, if I say, we were only confined to the EXIM containers. Number two, we were not getting inside the container. We were not getting into the point that whether the container is empty or laden. We were also not concerned about what kind of commodity is getting transported in the container. We were not touching anything relating to bulk or break bulk. We were not at all present into the air cargo segment. We were not at all understanding that whose commodity is getting transported from point A to point B. So all this will get, we were not doing anything which is relating to non-containerized cargo or coastal cargos movements. So all this will get covered as part of LDB 2.0, because now the spectrum has increased, and eventually LDB will get subsumed within the whole ULIP platform.
Coming to the core area, NICDC, how is it supporting the Prime Minister's Gati Shakti plan?
See, Gati Shakti is a overarching umbrella, I will say, under which all these initiatives, whether you talk about national logistic policy or ULIP, etc., are figuring out. And under the PM Gati Shakti umbrella, more than 900 central government layers of different infrastructure and economic zones ministry has been mapped. More than 600 layers of the state has been mapped. Certain planning tools, around 13 planning tools has already been developed for the purpose of providing ease in planning. The entire forest layers has been incorporated, the water bodies. So to my mind, just to give you an example, if to fix up a road alignment, if it used to take close to 9 months, for doing a road alignment by way of doing surveys, by way of using drones, by way of analyzing the revenue records of that particular area, by way of seeing whether it is falling in the close vicinity of a wildlife or a national park or any eco-sensitive zone, or whether any water body is passing through nearby. So all that can be done by sitting on a laptop, by sitting on a portal and just analyzing. And not only that, it will also help you for the purpose of giving you the estimates with regard to how much soil filling will be required, what is the curvature radius, how many trees need to be cut, what is the area which is passing through, the area which is banned by the Ministry of Environment and Forest. So it's a fantastic tool and fantastic system which has been developed, and I'm sure that it will cut short the entire planning time by at least 1/3.
Now, LDB is moved into other South Asian nations as well, like Nepal and Bangladesh. Have you faced any integration issues with relates to technology? That is first question. Second part is cross-border issues, or especially in container transportation, is a major nightmare. So tracking them from the technology perspective, how are you dealing with that?
See, we have not started our services in Nepal and Bangladesh, just to clarify. We have started our services on the border checkpost of Nepal and Bangladesh. So we are covering two border checkposts, from which the road-based transportation, the truck movements is happening from India and Nepal to India. Similarly, in Bangladesh also, we are doing that on the land border.
Okay.
So it's very important to understand that there is a requirement, or there was a requirement of tracking the movement of trucks which are entering Nepal or Bangladesh and how many of them are returning, and vice versa. So by using and installing the RFID readers at these border checkposts, we are able to help the requisite agencies to tell them very clearly that when a particular cargo has moved inside and when it has moved outside. So in that manner, it is helping. But yes, maybe in future, if some concrete proposal comes in, we'll be more than happy to extend LDB services outside India as well.
This tracking of containers generates a lot of data. Is the data being used in any way to improve the logistics efficiency, or to be having more analytical approach dealing with the issues?
Absolutely. We carry out a detailed analysis report on month-on-month basis, on quarter-to-quarter basis. We also do year-on-year comparison. And this logistic data bank analytical report is uploaded onto our website. It is being shared with every single stakeholder into the logistic trade. It is freely downloadable from our website, ldb.co.in. And it contains humongous amount of analysis on month-on-month, year-on-year, quarter-to-quarter comparison, port-to-port comparison, CFS to CFS comparison. And from the very beginning, in order to promote healthy competition into the trade, we name the best performing port for that month, the best performing port for the year, the worst performing port of the year, the worst performing CFS of that year or the month. And it is backed by a credible data, which is 100% data set. It's not a simple data. And nobody has come forward to question the sanctity or the methodology of doing that analysis. So we provide information with regard to heat map, with regard to congestion analysis, the dwell time analysis, the turnaround time, and basis this data and basis this analysis, now different ports are coming to us to help them to develop a customized solution for them, so that they can bring in some kind of technological innovations within their own system and improve onto the efficiency. Because they are looking at that they are ranking number 3 into our analytical report, somebody else is ranking number 1 and 2. So what good things number 1 and number 2 is doing, which they can adopt in order to improvise on the efficiencies.
Before concluding, one last question. In light of all these developments, what is that you expect from the industry?
I just expect from the industry that they should start using ULIP, and GoUlip.in is already live, up and running. One of the use cases, which is track your transport, is up and running. I will definitely urge all the stakeholders through your medium that they should start using the system, start registering onto the platform, and tell us their genuine feedback, so that if anything else needs to be done at our end, we will be more than happy to incorporate their suggestions. We will be more than happy to have more and more use cases Because as government, we have developed the governance layer and the integration layer. The whole success of the platform depends on the presentation layer, which is the app layer, the user layer. And that private sector has to come forward to develop more and more such apps depending upon what is required by the end customer.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Abhishek ji, for sparing time and joining us to share your thoughts, your perspectives, and the work that happened behind national logistics policy, and how do you want to see the rollout, and how industry wants to use it. Maybe probably we will reconnect in future again to see how it is being implemented and what is the feedback from the industry. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.